Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello, ladies, and welcome back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. I am so excited to be here with you with our next guest. Pretty amazing topic we're going to be covering today, all about branding. And I have here with me Monokia Nance. Welcome, Monokia.
Hey, Rosetta. Thank you for having me today.
We are just going to dive right in and really tell people how I came to know you and came to invite you to the podcast. Monokia Nance is the co-founder of Heal a Woman to Heal a Nation, and that is how I connected with her. She does so many other things, but I spoke at their conference for 2 years when I was in Washington, D.C. And I just was so impressed by the way that both you and Mathina really generated such a sense of sisterhood at your conference. And it has definitely been an inspiration for me as we have built Happy Black Woman here. So thank you for the work that you do. And I'm so glad that we got you here on the podcast.
Yes, I'm excited. And I love being in sisterhood-like communities to be able to spread love and knowledge. And Heal a Woman to Heal a Nation started literally because of just being a supportive person, wanting to support one another, wanting to love on one another, wanting to just say, I'm here for you to support. And when we met you, I was like, we have to have this woman who's doing similar things that we are doing over here. And so thank you again for inviting me.
Oh, no problem. So glad to have you here. And there's so much that we can talk about, even as it relates to sisterhood and running events and all of that. Just so you guys know that Monokia has a multifaceted range of experience in business and in building communities. But today we're going to be talking about branding. And I'm really going to shut up here and really have Monokia share her knowledge with you because she has such a depth of knowledge in this area. So Monokia, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Awesome. So the quick and dirty version is I am, of course, Monokia Nance, and I call myself the brand Maven. I help people, first generation entrepreneurs, to increase their influence and income by utilizing not only business strategies, but brand development strategies as well. So I've been in the industry for a very long time. I was one of those people that didn't know what I was doing when I was doing it. And then when it clicked, it was like, oh, you've been doing this for a very long time. I started out in corporate America, helping to run, $1 million, $5 million brands at a time, managing not only staff, but acquisition, marketing, customer retention, and realized that if I could do this for someone else, what happens if I can do this for me? What happens if I transition that to doing it for my community, helping women in my community? What if I become my own tester? What if I create a product, a service, sell it out, max it out, and then help other people to reproduce that success? So my story starts literally when I was 14 years old at a place that many of us have visited and probably still purchase from, McDonald's. Can you believe it, Rosetta?
Wow.
At 14 years old, all of this brand talk, management talk started for me at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
See, when I was born, my mother was like, hey, Alonzo, I'm pregnant. And my dad said, oh, shit. And walked to the local McDonald's and got a job.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad has been at McDonald's since I was born, I was conceived, and he's been there all of my life. So when I turned 14, of course, naturally, I'm like, Daddy, I want a job. And he's like, oh, I have a friend. You can work in their store. And I'm like, oh, what pressure is that? It's like to not only to impress your parent, but now you have their friend. You do not act out in front of company. You do not break the rules. You're on your best P's and Q's. And that's what set me off because literally I was the one that read the handbooks. I was the one that followed all the rules because of my dad, but also I wanted to just do well. I wanted to go up the ladder. We know that it's not all about what you know, sometimes it's about who you know. And so I got the insider information like, hey, Monokia, if you do X and Y and Z, we can promote you. So I did X, Y, and Z plus 1, 2, and 3 because I wanted to be the best. And from McDonald's at 14, I transitioned at 17, being the youngest manager in limited brands history, running my own store at 17 years old while I was still in high school because I was still reading the books, right? It's about being in practice, putting yourself in motion. And I was so used to just being an overachiever and trying to get it right. I was managing my mom, people, my mom's age and her friend's age, in marketing and in management, still not clicking for me that I'm in the world of branding and even marketing. I was like, oh, I'm in retail. Before I knew it, Rosetta, I was being flown from East Coast to West Coast to not only manage stores, but to open new stores. I was in charge of hiring all the personnel, all the managers, talking about what does merchandising look like, understanding and teaching the branding techniques for the company so that people not only looked like the brand when they walked into work, but they were the brand and would be able to respond as the brand would respond and remove their personal feelings from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was flying East Coast to West Coast. Literally, people were bidding for me. And finally, one day, after working 80 hours a week, and I ended up, my health was declining because I'm running. Some of us can, equate to that, understand that. You're running, forgetting about your health. I had a health scare. And that one health scare, I was home for about a month and my job still loved me. At 23 years old, I was making about $67,000 a year. That's a lot in the early 2000s. Like, what? No children, no honey. It's just me. And I said, well, God, if I'm in charge of, $5 million accounts, if I'm able to do all of this and have no times, have no friends, no life, all in all, still going to college and still trying to figure out what I really want to do, because some of us get in that hamster wheel, Rosetta, the hamster wheel, you go to work, go to school, go home, go to work, go to church, go home. And I said, I'm helping to manage these billion-dollar brands, working in a $1 million market. If I can do a piece of that for myself, how would that change everything for my life? So I quit. I quit my job, never went back, and said I wanted to set off on this journey of entrepreneurship. And the first thing that I thought about doing was, okay, I'm going to help people to manage their companies. Because just because you have an idea does not mean you know how to properly develop it and manage it and organize it. And so that's actually how I started being an independent brand manager.
That is an incredible story. I mean, so many ladies listening are like, oh, wow. So you had the courage to make that leap very early on. And of course, you have reaped the benefits of learning by doing of all these years. And I always tell people that's, to me, the most valuable experience in teaching other people too, because you didn't learn it all from a book. You didn't learn it all from school. And you learned it all in practice in someone else's company and in your own company. So such a beautiful story. And now you help other people with their branding. How do you do that? Just quickly, is it that you do consulting and coaching? How do people get that information from you?
So typically, yes, very much through coaching for those persons who are building, their own brands. They're trying to figure out, well, what is my voice in the marketplace? How do I serve? How do I become that force? How do I create true influence? And so I coach in that aspect, but then I'll also still consult for companies, for business owners, because there is a difference between being an entrepreneur and a business owner. When you get that switch, that click where now you're responsible for a team, when you're looking at you're responsible for someone's lifestyle, it's a different type of conversation. So I work as a consultant for a number of corporations where I go in and not only teach branding, but it's really about personal brand. People are saying yes because they love the CEOs of companies. People are saying yes because you know how to properly market and you know how to seed to sell. So coaching and consulting is actually how I expanded my own platform.
Beautiful. Well, Monokia, tell us, there's so many women listening who are just getting started in their own businesses or still even thinking about starting and just dipping their toe in starting to think of themselves as a brand. So what are a few of your strategies or tips for how ladies can get started with this branding thing?
Awesome. Thank you for asking me that. And so a lot of times people will tell you, branding is your colors. Branding is having a magnificent website, but I'm not going to go there first. Branding is truly about owning your own power first. And what I mean is that I started my company from what I was already doing naturally, from my hamster wheel of go to work, go to school, go home. Something that I was doing, I wasn't even thinking about doing it. I was reading the books. I was educating myself in the moment because I wanted that promotion. I wanted to be able to be at the top. I wanted the awards. And so I started to do it. It started to become a part of who I be. So be yourself. Everyone's not going to like you. Everyone's not going to love your message. Everyone's not going to understand your message. But whatever that message is, whatever that platform is, be you and love you in it. Know that not to marry, perfection, but marry completion. It's better to fail forward than to never try at all. And so my very first tip for everyone that I work with is always, let's figure out who you are. Let's figure out who you truly are. What are your belief systems? What is the message that you truly want to share? What do you want people to do from working with you, from hearing your voice, from being a part of your influence? What are your customer base? What are they looking for? What are the questions that they're asking themselves that you need to answer? I love branding, especially personal branding, because typically we serve a version of ourselves. See, Rosetta, you're not currently serving, you may not be serving the 2017 version of yourself, but you're probably serving the 2000 version of yourself, the 1999 version of yourself when you're trying to start a business, you're trying to figure it all out about how to be happy and how to travel and how to live and how to breathe. Sometimes we forget that and we think that our target audience is someone outside of ourselves, but typically it's someone that you already have been or you're working on. So the first tip that I love to share is to truly understand who you are and what you do. The second thing is that clarity really is king. A confused mind always says no. So once you discover who you are, make sure that the people that you came to serve, the people that you came to show up to love on and support, they know that you're there for them. Never be afraid to share that message of clarity and go all the way in. See, sometimes we're looking at other people and the overnight success, quote unquote, because I've been a full-time entrepreneur now for 10 years. So I love it when people are like, girl, I just saw X, Y, and Z and you were blowing up. And I'm like, girl, I've been doing this for 10 years, and half of those 10 years I was broke eating beans, because there is, a sacrifice for success. There is a sacrifice for success. And so sometimes we get a little discouraged when you're in that year 1 through 3, 1 through 5, and you're like, it's not really working. You're still getting clear. You're still getting clear. So the more you get clear, the more people can say yes to you. Once you understand that, it's going to open so many doors for you. You're going to drop off some of the emotional baggage that we continue to pick up on where we should be.
Yeah.
Be you, number one. Love who you are. Know that you're serving a different version of yourself and that our experience outweighs everything. I tell my clients, I said, if you're looking right now to be able to build a $5 million business, I'm not there yet, but I can definitely teach you how to do 1.5 with clarity. If you do exactly what I did with clarity, we can talk about that. But when I get to that mark in my own business, because I ran that business for someone else, so it works with my corporate clients, right? But to build your own business, when I get there, I'm going to teach that message. I'm not going to teach that message until I'm there yet. That's one thing about being clear who you are, how you serve, being in integrity. And the last thing that I know you guys have heard it before, but we have to do it more, especially as women of color, especially building our own businesses, especially as finding our own way, is being consistent. How often do we pick up something and when it's not working on day 1 or day 10 or day 100, we put it down? You have to be consistent so people know they can depend on you. You have to show up. So when that light bulb moment goes off and I'm like, well, who can help me to travel? I can know to go to Rosetta's website, and on Rosetta's website, it's going to teach me something about traveling, or I can go with her somewhere. You have to make yourself available and be fully committed to the process and not just the profit.
Those are some amazing tips, and they sound so simple, but they really are the foundation for getting started. I know that so many of my clients, there are all those things that you said that you were already doing, that you knew you were good at. And a lot of women listening, they're comfortable doing those things for free. But when it comes to getting into their business and having to create a brand around that, it's like, Oh, so I have to tell people that I'm good at this? Yes, you do. That's
Yes.
part of the whole thing. And so there's this disconnect that happens when we start selling things, that we start to not trust ourselves. Like, oh, it's all good as long as we're doing it for free. But as soon as money is involved, we start to doubt and not trust ourselves and what we know to be true, which is, yes, I'm talented in this area. Yes, I've helped my friends and family get these results. But for clients, I don't know. Where have you found in your work, like, where does that disconnect come from? What happens in our brains?
What happens is that most of us are doing this out of servant work. Like we want to serve, we want to show up. It feels good to us. So we feel as though because it feels good, if I talk about money, then now it's a dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
What I know for sure and in my own experience is that you cannot serve and be hungry at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Being hungry, worried about your lights being turned off or paying your rent or paying your car note or paying your insurance or taking your kids out or going out, hanging out with your friends and having that budget. It's okay to have a budget. It's responsible to have a budget, but to live in a spirit of lack and continue to pour yourself out to others and then you go home and you're empty, it's not of value to anyone, because now you're serving in a cloudy space. And so what I share with my clients is, I want to get you out of the space of scarcity. And the only way we can do that is by being confident. It's not about being cocky. It's about being confident in how you serve and how you show up. I know that I run a results-driven business. I thrive on results. Anytime my clients show up, we're producing results. When you say yes to me, I agree to say yes to you, which means we're in this journey together. I'm not excited about your money, your $1,500, your $1,000. That doesn't get me excited. What gets me excited is when you write that book that's been on your heart for 10 years and we can market it and we can brand it and your voice is out there because your voice has value. It gets me excited when you're looking for new clients and I'm able to help you to drill down on your target audience and the verbiage and the language and the social presence and currency that they need to say yes to you.
Yeah.
You get that yes.
Right.
That gets me excited, because you know why that gets me excited? Because when I am able to show results in what you're doing, when you are successful, I am successful. There's the value.
And that applies to everyone else too. I mean, it's like, how can you be successful in your business if you're not really helping people? And so I think that's such a great reminder of what you just said. Like, the money is the vehicle that allows us to help people, which allows them to get results, which allows us to be successful and feel fulfilled. And it's like this circle that has to include money at some part of it as a business owner. Otherwise, it's so easy to get burnt out and shut down because you're not receiving the value that you need to keep going.
Yes, I love that. The value, right? Because I believe that if I'm as good as I say I am, your investment, you're going to make that back.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm as good as I say I am, especially working in a specific market, not just, empowerment coaching, but I'm giving you strategies. I'm giving you tools that I'm utilizing, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever your platform you desire to utilize on your website. Is your website converting? If I'm giving you strategies and tools and you're giving your all, you're being fully committed to the process, you're going to make money. If you're not making money when you're coaching with someone or you're hired a strategist and you're not seeing your revenue, you're not generating more revenue, then that's a question you have to ask yourself. One, am I doing what I said I was going to do when I signed up with this coach, with this mentor? Two, is what they're giving me what I really need right now? Because sometimes we'll see the shiny object, the shiny object syndrome, like, oh my God, this sounds great. But is that what you really need?
Yeah. Especially when it comes to marketing and branding, because there's so much out there. It's really hard for people who are just starting out to figure out what's right for them. Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Do I need some direct coaching to help figure out my brand? Like, what is it? So here's a question that I get from so many women starting out is, which platform should I get started on? Like, should I start, not platform strategy? It's all like, people are looking for that one thing that they need to do. And we know that it's multiple things that everyone's going to have to do over the course of your business to get known, get seen, and get hired. But from your perspective, like, what's the easiest way for someone to get started on a platform or with a strategy to brand themselves and their business?
It's going to sound really strange because I think about all the people that give all this technical skill.
Mm-hmm.
And because I feel like I'm an old school, I feel like I'm old school business owner, right? It's just to be committed. Pick one. Where's your audience?
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be on Facebook, go all the way in. I looked at, I do consultations all day long. This is a huge part of my business. And she's like, everyone knows that I'm a financial analyst. And I said, really? And I go to her Facebook page. I said, you made one post this week about money. How am I supposed to know that? Because what we know is when it comes to social media is that it's forever changing. Every second, it's moving around. It's changing. So if you truly are about money, about fashion, about beauty, about travel, make sure your audience knows it. Continue to introduce yourself so you no longer have to introduce yourself and they're introducing you to other people. It's truly about that level of commitment and dedication of getting your voice out there. If you're going to do Instagram, be committed to your Instagram. Don't just post one picture today. No way. Instagram changes every second.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I saw it at 9 o'clock this morning, if I don't get on at 9 o'clock when you post it, when I get on at 12, you're irrelevant.
Yeah.
I may not even see that you posted anything. So, I always tell my clients, pick one first. I know they're the experts of the world will say, do all of them well. You'll stretch yourself thin.
Mm-hmm. And you get overwhelmed.
Yes. And it becomes a lot, especially when you are master of all things and in the moment. We know that that's a false reality, but you're trying to build the business. You're trying to have the money. You still have to have a life. You're a mother. You have children. You have a husband. You have a business life. If you're still working your 9 to 5, it's too many things to juggle. But if you find one, your home may be Facebook, your home may be Periscope, and you're committed and you build that audience, when you tell them to join you on other platforms, they will. And by them joining you on other platforms will increase your awareness on that platform. Take the stairs, ladies. Do not be afraid of the stairs. I know we're seeing many people, quote unquote, blow up, because I know a lot of people that have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and don't make a dime.
Yeah.
For facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't look at what we see on the outside. It really matters on the inside, because all you really need, if you had 10 people to give you $100, how does that change everything for you right now? 10 people.
That's a beautiful way to kind of break it down and chunk it down into a very actionable first step, because a lot of women think that, especially those of us who are overachievers, high achievers, type A plus 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 plus, like we tell people, oh, we have so many A plus plus ladies, I know you're listening, that feel like they have to get the whole plan mapped out and everything before they can take a step. But what Monokia is saying is so true. When I first started, my thing was blogging. When I started my first business, not even Happy Black Woman, but when I started my nonprofit consulting business that a lot of you all know me from, my platform was just my blog. I just posted constantly, and people were like, how do you post so much? That's all that I did. I mean, was post blog posts. And I said that, you know what? I may be new to this field. I may be young. I'm the youngest everywhere, but you know what? Nobody can outblog me. Nobody can outwrite me,
Yes.
And that was my strength. And so all of us have strengths. Some of you, you're not a writer, but you are a talker and you are good on video. You can make a video every day if you wanted to, as long as you're not trying to focus on all these other platforms. You can really gain traction really quickly on one of these platforms. But like Monokia said, to be committed is something that so many of us don't do, because we have one foot in and one foot out. But if you're all in, I love what you said about that, then failure is not an option. It's just a matter of going all in and learning from it. So very simple advice, but when applied, it will make all the difference for you ladies. Beautiful.
Yes.
I love it. Well, Monokia, and now I'm curious of how you manage. How do you really stay focused and productive and still have a life with all that you do? One of the big topics on our podcast is, how can we have it all? How can we have the business, the travel, the relationship, the happiness, the success, and also take care of ourselves as Black women entrepreneurs? What are some of the things that you do to stay focused, stay productive, and take care of yourself?
Thank you for asking that, because sometimes we can get caught up in the business aspect and not think about the life skills that come along with it. Because early on in my business, I wasn't taking care of myself. It was really, how do I get to the next thing? How do I make this money? How do I do so much? And I was in a space of overwhelm, and I suffer from endometriosis. And I would have flare-ups to where I would be in bed for days. So I would work myself literally sick to where I was in the bed. And then I said to myself one day, I was like, it's not worth it, because I'm not really achieving my goals. And I started out on this my own personal platform for my audience where I call New Money. And new money is not just about the new money. It's really about new money and living life and appreciating life and what I need. And so I created my business to do what I want to do. I asked God to allow me to work anywhere in the world I choose. That was my prayer. That's my mantra. God, please allow me to work anywhere in the world that I choose. And so I created a business where I live by a schedule. My schedule helps me. My son knows about the schedule. He knows that if he wants, he wants Umi to be somewhere, tell Umi ahead of time so I can put on my schedule when it's done. He knows that when I'm working and I have projects and deadlines, he can see when I'm working on my schedule. Something that we don't do early enough in entrepreneurship is put ourselves on a schedule because we're committed to this freedom lifestyle. Oh, I can work whenever I choose and on my own time. But sometimes when you're on your own time, having fun, you'll forget that there has to be a system of success. There has to be that level of consistency. So one, I keep mantras and affirmations a part of my everyday life. I am amazing. I'm great. I am beautiful. Anything that I need will come into the space where I am. I am abundance. I am manifestation. I am power. And so I say those things over and over again because I believe I'm connected to God, who is the source of all things. So if I'm connected to something that is higher than I am, nothing is impossible for me. And so every day I have to remind myself to keep myself motivated. And then I look at my schedule and I commit myself to that schedule to where I put in massage time. I put in time that when I get to travel for business, I love the VI. I love the VI. I love going to the United States Virgin Islands. It's my second home, but I always put in extra days just for me to be. I'm going to work. I love to write while I'm there. I love being close to the water. So I go to consult. I go to help businesses in the VI and I put it all on my schedule. But then I have a day or two where I say I get to do nothing and practice the art of nothing for me and really worry about, am I eating correctly? Because it's huge. Am I drinking enough water? That's been major for me lately. I said for the next 90 days, I'm committing myself to 1.5 gallons of water just because it's about to be summer and I run ragged during the summer, but I love it. So my biggest tips are stay in communities of power, stay in places where you're continuing to be filled up because you will, drain yourself. You will give yourself to your business. You will give yourself to your husband, your children, but where is a space where people can pour into you? But I live by a schedule. Get committed to your own schedule and truly get committed to your own time where you can say, I worked 10 hours this week and these are the results I was able to produce. What happens when I go in and I'm at 20, when I'm at 25? Put your family on notice so they know, before I was able to be a full-time entrepreneur, Heal to Heal Nation turned 14 this year. That's my nonprofit. But we turned 14. And so when we first started with that nonprofit, I was still working. I was still going to college. And so what we did is we had time where we met every week.
Yeah.
Every single week, this was the time that we met. And then after the time that we met, I put 2 hours into working on that business. It was automatic. It wasn't like, oh, I'm tired, I have to go to bed. No, we're having a meeting. I have 2 hours after the meeting for action steps. And so those are the tips that I would share.
I love that you shared about the schedule because it's so true that the desire for entrepreneurship for so many women is the freedom. And I always say that your freedom gives you the ability to create your own schedule, not to not have a schedule. So I love that you shared the importance of that because that is what allows us to get things that we need to get done and still enjoy life. And everything can be scheduled. Your vacation, your travel, your time with your man, your time with your kids, all of that can be scheduled and time for you. So I love that you have your favorite place. Everyone knows my favorite place is Hawaii. And I do retreats there for clients. And I do the same thing. I come in a few days earlier. I stay a few days after and really get renewed. And I don't think that as Black women entrepreneurs that we renew ourselves enough. We just go from one thing to another. So ladies, some more tips for you about how to renew yourself. And if this gives you permission to book that trip to the Virgin Islands or that trip to Hawaii, we have done our job.
Yes.
Yes. I am curious also, you mentioned earlier that you read all the books, you were a good student as you were building up your expertise in marketing and branding and business and all of that. What was your favorite one that helped you really, be successful in your path, or maybe one that you keep going back to as you grow?
So it's not even for me about the actual niche. That was my, eye-opening moment for me. It was really that personal development, that self-development that helped me to say everything that I need already lives inside of me. That I need to continue to, charge myself up. And a part of that was Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And I love it because it gave me permission to be able to have my own relationship and to really truly decide what success was for me, not what everyone else was saying success was or what I was seeing on television or any of that. It was really, Monokia, what is going to be success for you? What did you truly come here to do? What is purpose really about? And having conversations with God, now that I'm able to do that from reading the book and understanding truly what spirit was for me, it created a shift for me about what's my own level of happy and really being able to embrace it and saying that possibility is available for every one of us. We get to choose every single day what we want to do. Even if you have a 9 to 5, you get to choose. Do you want to go to the 9 to 5? Are you going to be productive in it?
Mm-hmm.
There's a choice. And so Conversations with God was that for me. It was that, yes, you have choice. Now, what are you going to do with it? Yes, you have a spirit of discernment. Now, what are you going to do with it? Yes, you have purpose. Yes, you are intelligent, because we'll put hours and hours and hours, whether you're in someone's master class or you're watching, I like to say Google University,
Mm-hmm.
we'll commit hours to that stuff. But when it comes to the end of the day, what's truly going to make you happy? Because if you are not happy in your business, if you're not happy in your personal life, it's going to spill over into your business. It's going to spill over into your clients. And so I know that we all hear the saying, people buy from people they know, love, and trust, but also people they can relate to, people that they admire, people they honor.
Yeah.
And so my stance is bigger than just marketing and branding. I'm taking a stance for the multi-passionate entrepreneur, from the woman that says that I have no idea how to run a business, but I'm great, at financial planning. I'm great at preaching or teaching or writing books. And so I get to help you to figure out how to market yourself. I get to help you to figure out what your next steps are. I love for my clients to stay in their genius and find the people and the resources in the community around you that can support that. And so Conversations with God helped me with that level of clarity. So I always go back to it.
Yeah, it sounds like I watch videos from Neil and they've all been so helpful. I haven't read the book yet, so that's a great recommendation. And it sounds like so connected to the conversations we have here about purpose and really being committed to that purpose no matter what. And you get to choose how you live your life, and it's not going to be as fulfilling as it could be if you have no connection to that purpose, whether that purpose is in your 9 to 5 or in your business or in your ministry or in your volunteer work, whatever it is. There's always going to be something missing as long as we ignore our true purpose. So I love that you got clarity on that and it's led you to this work. Cool. So I would love to know, before I let you go, what would be your number one piece of advice for all the women who are listening and they're like, okay, I am feeling really inspired right now. I'm feeling really motivated. I want to get going, but can I really do this? Like, is it going to be worth it? How long is it going to take? Like all the different things that go on in our minds, that negative chatter. Knowing what you know now, what would be your number one piece of advice for that woman who really wants to go out and do her own thing, but she's skeptical, doubtful of herself?
Believe in the power of evolution. And I say that to go back to the very beginning of my story, that when I was 14 years old, I started at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
The same McDonald's arches that was in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s are not the same designed McDonald's arches that we're looking at today. Target's logo has evolved. Microsoft, Apple, all every year something new, something fresh. Give yourself that same level of leadway. Give yourself that same level of confidence to say that who I am today, I get the opportunity to be better tomorrow. I get the opportunity to be better next year, the next 10 years. And sometimes we get so stuck on our now that we forget that there is a next, that possibility is available for our next, that we get married to that perfection, that it has to be the best podcast, Rosetta. Before I can do it, I have to have those, $1 million headphones. I have to have that $1 million microphone before I do it. No, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it and know and believe in the power of your own evolution, that next year it's going to be better because you did it, this year. Know that in the next 10 years it's going to be better. And I love that you shared that when you first started, you were doing consulting and blogging, and look how that has flourished to all these retreats and conferences. It's going to grow. The more you know, the more you grow. Don't worry about not having it all now. Know that you're planning for something greater and get committed to your own evolution and sit in it. I did something this year for my birthday, video with Mo. And so I had my clients who've never done video, who's afraid of video. Because if you do not know, ladies, video is what's next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's video, audio, like people playing it in their headphones. Immediate access is where it is, especially when the doors of the world are open to us because of all the Facebook Live, all the live features, even your own radio stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I challenge everyone to do it. And I had some of my clients come like, Monokia, oh my God, I feel like I did so horrible. It was horrible. I wasn't prepared. I can't do it like you. And I was like, no, you can't. I've been doing it for 14 years. You're at 1. I'm at 14. Never compare.
Mm-hmm.
And so after they saw their videos, even still in the moment, oh, it's a lot better than I thought it was, but I know I shouldn't have wore that colored top. I should have wore a different top. Okay, so can I re-record it? And I said, well, what was wrong with the content? Oh, nothing was wrong with the content. I wrote it down. I studied it. So you want to not put out that video because you didn't like that color shirt? Negative. We're going to put out this video. And then the next video you're going to have on the right shirt.
Yeah.
On the next video, you're going to make sure that curl that was hanging in the middle of your forehead is now to the side, because it's about moving forward and getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I think excites my audience the most and how I was able to build my own personal brand is seeing that evolution. It's for me to say, you know what? Go back and watch my video from 5 years ago and you guys will see how my production team has changed.
I love that.
Go back and see, my very first website or flyer. Don't worry about it. Get committed to your purpose.
Yeah, I love that. That it's a great reminder that all of us have gone through an evolution. I always look at one of my business idols is Beyonce, and people look at her as an entertainer. I look at her as a businesswoman and how she has evolved from, when she first started as a teenager to where she is now.
Yes.
People are looking at where she is now and judging her as where she is now, but it's really important, especially as we start to compare ourselves to other people, other entrepreneurs, other whatever you are, other speakers, other coaches, other whatever, that you understand that all of us have had to go through an evolution and we're still evolving. We're still evolving. I just love that you mentioned that, because it really does give perspective for the woman that feels like she's just starting out. But at the same time, there's so many of us that I just rebranded, So at that point, I feel like I'm just starting out again.
Yes.
And there's always this opportunity. And I love that you said, give yourself that leeway, because I think as Black women, we don't give ourselves permission to make mistakes or to not get it exactly right the first time, because we've been taught that we have to be twice as good as our white counterparts to make it in this world. And I think we should give ourselves permission to make mistakes just like they can. And that's when we will have true equality. I said to my clients all the time, like, if we can't make mistakes, like, we're always going to be on this train of burnout and overwork and all of that. Like, give yourself permission to fail just like our white sisters fail. There's no need to overwork ourselves and put so much pressure just because we're the Black entrepreneur.
And you're so right about that. I'm glad you brought up Beyonce, because she's a perfect example. If you look at a Beyonce baby of 1998 compared to the Beyonce of today, and even her level of confidence is different. And so a part of meshing my own world, that going back to that a little bit about the things that I love to do, I love music. I actually ended up holding a microphone singing first before speaking. I never thought that speaking was even a part of my future. That wasn't even on my radar for success. I just knew I was going to be a singer. So the whole time I'm working in retail, I'm going to school for music, which transitioned into radio. That's a whole sidebar. We'll talk about that another time. But I wanted to bring up how I was able to, I love the music industry and looking at the business professionals that I do a number of interviews. And typically when I do my interviews, I talk about branding. So I had the chance to do interviews with like Floetry and Anthony Hamilton. And so when I was talking to Layla Hathaway, because I love Layla, and I asked her about, building her brand and creating a space to where she can truly be an artist, what is her biggest piece of advice? And Layla looked at me and she said, squad up, squad up. She said, I'm only one person. And so I can't do everything. But when I have the best engineer, when I have the best producers, when I have the best musicians, I'm able to thrive at my best. And so I bring that to, my sisters here at Happy Black Woman to squad up that, as we're in that spirit of evolution, you'll be able to have that sister who's great in marketing, who's great in branding, who's great in accounting, who's great in systems to be able to be your support system. But she gets to work her genius and you get to work your genius. And then before you know it, you have a magnificent squad of women doing great things. That's one thing that we are not doing that our counterparts are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. There's so much opportunity for collaboration and connection, and instead of competition, people always say, "Well, how can I reach out to my competition?" There is no competition because nobody can ever do anything like you do it. So I love that tip as well. Bonus tip, ladies, to squad up and really fill your life and fill your network with women who can support you and even collaborate with you. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's a research that just came out and it was talking about Black economics and that if we just in the United States pulled all of our Black dollars, we will be the 14th largest country in the world.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
There's no competition.
I believe it.
There is no competition here, right? There's more than enough for all of us in that people that may be attracted to Rosetta may not be attracted to Monokia. You may be attracted to Monokia for one thing, and then, you go to Susan for something else or Keisha for something else. Like, there's so much. And when you're talking about a customer life cycle, that's something deeper to talk about. But when you're talking about your customer life cycle, just because your customer may need to go and read a book by your counterpart does not mean they won't come back to you for the action steps or vice versa. There's so much that we can do that it only helps to solidify you more as an expert when people are able to compare you to something else, the way you speak, the way you deliver, the way you serve, the way you show up, the way your program's outlined. I'm a creative. And so having a creative spirit, some people need more linear coaches, which I'm fully okay with. And I have a list to say, you know what, you can work with, Dr. Maria James, or maybe you're a better fit for Medina.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, I love this conversation. And I know that we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg of your knowledge and wisdom and expertise. So for all the ladies that are like, okay, I want more of Monokia, I want more. How can the ladies stay in touch with you and get more of your knowledge?
Awesome. You can always find me at monokianance.com, MONOKIANANCE.com. There is my home base, and I want to give you guys something to read, something to hold on to. It's the 12 areas of successful entrepreneurship. It's where it's a little workbook about the 12 areas of success around sales and mindset, operations, systems, branding, social media, marketing, finance, and even storytelling, selling, which I believe are all a part of creating a solid, marketable brand. And so I'm going to give that to the women here at Happy Black Woman. And so you can go to monokianance.com/Happy Black Woman.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that special gift. And I hope that you guys really take her up on it. This podcast, I am just so impressed over and over again by the depth of information that's shared and the generosity of our guests. So thank you for gifting that to us. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And ladies, if you have not listened back to all of our previous episodes, like I said, Monokia is just one of our amazing guests that we have had on over the past year and a half. And you can go back to all of our episodes by going to happyblackwoman.com and clicking on the podcast tab, and you will have a wealth of information at your fingertips to binge listen this week. All right, ladies, have a beautiful day. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.